Over the next 30 minutes, I'm about to transform your learning life. I know most of you click off because you have a TikTok fried brain. Just pay attention. I have not seen a single study YouTuber mention this, and I have no idea why. You will know the struggle of trying to get better in school and cramming for hours and hours, over months and months, but nothing works. You gotta pay attention though. This will change your perspective forever. I'm gonna start off with a story. As a kid in primary school, we were all taught to just read certain letters and memorize their sounds. It might be hard to remember decades ago, but just starting from A, B, C, D to 4 times 5 is 20. These are all things we were all expected to know. Compare this to when people learned the stuff as their second language. They had something to compare to. Learning words to build from accelerated their learning tenfold. There are people who are now learning more than 5 languages, polyglots gaining conversational fluency in as little as 3 months. Scientists, mathematicians, artists, researchers all discover new things without ever having to study them, because it's impossible to study what's not being found, right? Well, discovery is the first part of learning how to memorize effectively. 5 years ago, I realized I really liked computers. I wanted to learn some basic Python, but for these 5 years, I learned less Python than some people can learn in 3 months. Why is this? It's because I never let myself discover. Instead, I followed hours and hours of tutorials but never got anywhere past building stupid vaporware that's never been touched. I spent some time thinking why I could truly not wrap my head around how some people build amazing apps while being even younger and newer to the computer science game than me. But then I looked back to mathematics, something I've always enjoyed but never truly understood. How did I get better at math? Discovery. I'd give myself problems in primary and high school that I genuinely struggled with, and just let myself write out everything I knew about the related problem. What did this do for me? Well, it built connections and it allowed me to explore ideas I would have never explored before, and I arrive at an answer. And if it's correct, well done me. If I get nowhere, we have the powerful tool of the web to use. You can use Google to build our understanding until we arrive at our correct solution using the aid of the internet. Then don't be scared to dive into the topic further. I'm going to stress this a lot, and I'm not going to be able to stress this enough. Diving into topics like this, going deeper and deeper and deeper, is the only way you'll truly understand something. Whether it's an elementary topic, whether it's an advanced topic, this is how geniuses in the past learned. They kept discovering and learning and finding out new things, and only then will you truly remember it. There are 2 types of learning, and they're both important. It's practice and discovery. Practice is the learning you know, from the relaxed form of learning you're used to. This is what we use in schools, universities, workplaces. These can be rereading notes, which is considered low-level practice, to doing past paper problems, which is considered high-level practice. The higher you get onto this list, the more effective it is. This is purely used to drill every case of the topic into your mind. If you're taking mathematical exam-based classes, the practice will let you see every type of question that could be on the final exam. If you're taking a history essay-based class, the practice is writing structured essays based on the key facts you have to memorize to get the grade. For all of these classes, practice is crucial and has to happen to secure the grade. The learning has to be repeated by you. You have to know how to do it, but not how to optimize it. The amount of time you will save by learning this is exponential, as you can learn more in less time and get the best grades without any effort. Discovery is like a dark horse you're never taught about in school. When someone used to ask a question that branches from the original topic, it used to be a bit taboo, like the teachers would pull out the "it isn't related right now" card or question. They'd always say, "why are you asking this?" which ruins the understanding of the topic. Our brain is like a tree, building connections and paths from different facts we learn that help us remember each other fact. If you learned one thing and it links to another, you'll remember them both if you know both. If you didn't know how to do fundamental addition, if you didn't know to add 2 and 3, you would not know how to do multiplication, division, algebra, and every other math concept you know. If you're in a high school maths class, these things are so fundamental to you that you can't forget them because everything else you know has built on them. You literally cannot let yourself forget these things, and the smartest people are not those that memorize these things, it's the people that tinkered with them, those who aren't afraid to make stupid errors, break a few things, and get things wrong just to see what would happen if they did try the new method they thought of. Look, neither of these methods are bad. but none of them work without the other. And you have to practice your key fundamentals to have the mental capacity and confidence within yourself to fall down rabbit holes of discovery. But without discovery, you'll end up practicing for hours and hours, get sick of work, and you'll burn out and never get past the above average phase. Now, I hate study YouTube. There are countless examples of 12-hour study sessions, not to hate on the content creators, but these creators and teachers who drill into your mind that you have to study for hours and hours, getting nowhere, just to get A's and B's in those classes. Or you can barely scrape a C if you only do 1 hour or 2 hours of work a day. This is just not true. There are kids that put their life and time into studies and barely get by, and others who don't obsess over it and get A's and A pluses. This is not because they're just smart or they can just do it. It's because they understand that long study sessions aren't the ones helping them learn. It's understanding the content and removing the learning from the studying. Studying is a chore you have to do. Whether it's to become a lawyer, a doctor, your motivation is always external. It might be to please your parents to make money, but naturally we have a human instinct to want to learn. It's just relearning this instinct that has been taken out of us by the school system. Regain this natural joy of discovering new things, thinking about what you're doing, and truly learning, not just memorizing facts that I could give you on a paper, and straining your head by thinking what your teacher told you 2 weeks ago, which really you're not going to remember if you don't understand. It's ironic that we'll learn about the anatomy of the brain, not think for a second how weird it sounds that your whole educational journey does not build on what you've learned previously, but is just a random facts thrown at you that are really abstract and have nothing to do with the concepts you learn inside your class. How stupid is that? Now, as for motivation, there are two camps when it comes to motivation. Those who say be super disciplined like David Goggins, sit for hours with full focus and then you'll enjoy the results. And then there's another camp of people that say enjoy yourself, learn to make the stuff around you fun, find a cute study space and reward yourself often with breaks and treats. Both of these methods can work for studying, not for learning. They do not enforce this true learning. True learning is when you are finding problems, enjoying them and diving into them. Get into the zone for hours at a time, breaking focus only when it naturally happens. You're going to fall down these spirals for hours and hours once you truly understand this. You can discover them as random things, but you will remember it forever when compared to just reading a book or memorizing some cards, because those are superficial forms of learning where you're not invested in it. Whereas if you're truly thinking, look, this is kind of interesting to me, I'm going to read into it, and you do end up reading into it for hours and hours and hours on end, you will truly learn a lot more in a lot less time and never forget it. I'll give you a story I had quite recently in school. In further maths and A levels, we have a topic called proof by induction. I was one of 3 students who had gotten a question right after we hadn't touched this topic in about 7-8 months. Other 2 students that got it correct, as far as I'm aware, had been studying it for months and months. They study these things over and over again. I haven't touched it. Not because I'm lazy, not because I'm cocky, but because I truly understood it. I took the extra time when we learnt the topic to understand why we use proof by induction, the reason why it's allowed, and the reason why it works. And after that, I was able to understand it forever and not have to worry about reminding myself over it and over again, redoing it. And then occasionally, if I need to, I can redo it, but it's not necessary. There's also a trend that's going on in the past few years in the online learning space, which is flashcards. Memorization apps like Quizlet and Anki have been popping off all over, and not to hate on the companies, but I believe these are severely overrated for learning. Memorization, they're great, but if you haven't realized by now, traditional memorization is not going to cut it anymore. Flashcard style apps allowed you to retest and retest and retest and retest yourself, but they don't let you build on the knowledge you have. There are effective ways to use them. You can check your understanding. They aren't completely redundant for studying, but for learning and understanding, they're useless. The time to reward ratio is horrible. I know people that spend hours and hours on Anki every single day. I see them in the study rooms doing it, and I'm like, why are you wasting this hour and a half you have memorizing stuff when you could be understanding it, and then you're never going to have to memorize it again? Because yeah, the Anki might be fast in the short term. You might be able to finish more content in an hour than you could by understanding. But you're going to have to redo it in 2 weeks anyway, and that's going to add up, and as you get more and more content, it becomes less and less manageable. Whereas if you truly look at understanding it and you take a concept and you go in the deep meanings behind it, you'll remember it forever. The long-term ratio, it's much better, even if the short-term ratio isn't worth it. There's another very dangerous thing that no one's telling you in the study space because they don't want you to know, is you're gonna lose all your confidence. Because say you forget your Anki streak for 2 days, you're gonna feel like you've forgotten everything. You're now playing catch up with 480 flashcards you've forgotten to do for the past 2 days. And you're gonna go crazy, you're gonna burn out, you say, why am I doing all this? And you're just gonna give up. You will crumble. I know you will if you skip 1 or 2 days. And if you don't skip 1 or 2 days and you don't take those days off, you're gonna feel burnt out because you're like, all I ever do is study. I don't even feel that smart. I feel stupid. I'm average. What's the point? Now, if you've made it this far, well done. I know it can be very tempted to clicking off, scroll down, but paying full attention will pay off. I'm sure you're starting to realize how important this discovery is compared to old school methods. I'm sure you're asking me, Muhammad, how do I actually implement this? You need to build a learning system. Now, this might sound hard, so I'll give you mine, but feel free to tinker it to your liking. Firstly, you need to find out what you need to learn. Finding out what you need to learn is based on a multitude of things. If, like me, you're preparing for pre-university exams or A-levels, this can be done by looking at the specification for the board of the exams you're doing. If you're in college or university, you should have a syllabus or textbook for the classes you have. There should be an index somewhere, or you can get it off your professor, or you can pick what you want and go from there. If you're learning for the fun of it, which I mean, well done to you, and there are no formal requirements, Google a topic you find interesting, find something that you find interesting within the topic and stick to it. That's what we're going to learn about today. Then you have to assess the best method to learn this thing. Now, there are different ways to learn different things. Some things in maths are probably easier to learn by straight practice. Some things are better to learn with more discovery, and you'll learn to balance them out. If you have online class lectures or videos at hand, that's your go-to. Your information that you are given from it is set out for you. If you don't have access to those or don't like the resources, there's almost always textbooks, and there has to be information online of learning the topic. If you're in a full discovery phase where you are inventing something new, just open the questions and explore, see where you end up. And eventually you will end up with something. Whether it's useful or not, you'll figure that out. Through Google, books, writing out problems, trying paths, do whatever feels best for you. You will get better as time goes on, so don't be disheartened if this feels weird at first. It will get better. What you don't want to do is, it might feel very tempting to write down everything you read. Do not do that. Don't write down any stupid notes. Only make notes on things you think are really important, just to build off of after. So say you have an idea and you get 3 or 4 ideas at once. Write them all down and then go off of each one. Spend about an hour to half an hour on each one, depending on what it is, and go from there. Next thing is to just do it. Don't waste any time hyper optimizing. I made this mistake spending tens of hours thinking what I should learn, what I shouldn't learn. Should I study this today or should I study it tomorrow? But it's going to be way worse than spending 1 hour learning something you didn't want to learn, because you're just going to realize it's not for you and you're going to skip it. Listen to yourself. If you think it isn't worth learning and you aren't obligated to learn it, like for a class, then don't. If you find it boring but you need the grade, it can sometimes require the bit of grit and grinding to get through, but don't feel afraid to fall into spirals or Googling or reading topics that you don't enjoy. This happened with me in mechanics and mathematics. At the start of year 12, I hated it. But after doing many problems and looking at how we use it, I've fallen in love with it. This will happen with most things and is even supported by the author of the 48 Laws of Power, Robert Greene, in his book Mastery, where he says you don't have to be passionate about something at first. You will fall into passion the more you do things. And finally, don't be afraid to reflect on things. Reflect on the good discoveries you made, where you've gone wrong. I don't see any point overcomplicating this either though. Just write down how you feel after a learning session or make a voice note in your notes app. Keep it simple and only do this if you feel strongly about a session you've had. The next thing, this kept me motivated throughout my old exams when I was too tired to do them, is gamifying everything. As you can see, for the first 16 years of my life, I was the biggest gamer. I have over 4,000 hours, that's over 150 days in Rainbow Six Siege. When I'm saying my attention span and dopamine receptors were fried, they were gone. I had no joy in anything except sitting in front of a screen, rotting away, doing the bare minimum in school, imagining I was playing video games in class, rather than actually paying attention. My grades declining from A's to B's to C's to failing, and then I switched it all around, quit video games and gamified my learning instead. You can do the same to shock yourself. Everyone has this one crutch we have, whether it's video games, Netflix, TikTok. instant gratification that reduces our ability to focus. I'm not saying entertainment is bad. Enjoy yourself. But take a break from them and build an extra reward system just for learning. Just a short 2 to 3 line summary for everything I do every week, and I try to beat myself with. So if I did 20 hours really good work one week, then I'll try to do 21 the next week. But it doesn't mean time is everything. It should be your progress that you measure. Do not feel guilty because you want to enjoy the learning. It's human nature to want to enjoy what we're doing. But enjoyment is a skill. It's something we can build and train as for time goes. People have learned to enjoy struggles. From training martial arts hundreds of thousands of years ago, with seemingly no meaning, to creating works of art which no one can truly understand, we've always had a desire to enjoy something, even if it hurts in the short term. So embrace it and enjoy the activity you're doing, because you will reap the rewards. Secret to making exams easy. This is like the main thing. So I'm sure a lot of you will skip straight here. If you have, I mean, I would recommend you watch the whole video, but you don't have to. That's okay. It will make sense. But if you've made it here the whole time, well done. You're doing great. When you're in class, you're probably getting an average of 90+% of your questions correct. Whenever it comes to tests, it always drops down, right? No matter how successful you are in class, you always end up in the same situation where you are in exams. You make exams seem so special. Giving a special exam season, staying up late or waking up early for study hours for them. We build our whole academic career around them. My finals are in July and my mock exams are in January. How convoluted is it that it has become a part of our life? If I flip everything and I say you have to do an exam every week or twice a week, as if it's a normal day, you will become so comfortable with exams over the year that when exam season comes, you won't even think anything of it. And your mind will be in the same state as in classes in exams. You need to get to the point where your default state in school is exam state, even before your exams, even after your exams. And the way you can apply this is by doing practice exams every single week, at least 3 times a week. Maybe 2 if your exams are long, but at least 3 times a week. It should get to the point where you build up toolkits within your exams. You take time to break down every exam problem you have and keep doing them with different techniques so that you have every possible method to do them when you're in the real exam. So that say if you've seen something you've never seen before, you have the skill of breaking down a question and knowing what you know, and then finding new ideas to solve them, even if it's unconventional. There's usually also a mark sheet that follows all the methods to get an acceptable answer in most examinable subjects. You should look into each method for each question and find the method you find the most interesting and research into it. Don't be scared to fall into another discovery cycle for this method, no matter how niche or general it is. There is always more to learn, so never feel like you are truly done. Within months, you'll realize how far you've come by discovering more and more. Distractions. Now, this is something I struggle to get my head around. For the past year or so, hyper-optimizing made me spend hundreds of pounds on noise-cancelling headphones, a door lock, every focused study routine and app, multiple monitors and more. But I still get distracted. We all pull our phones out, open a random email, find something we find really engaging and watch it for 3 hours before realizing it's past our bedtime. It's just going to happen, isn't it? Someone is going to call you over for dinner, ask you for a quick favor, your boss might want you to change everything on the project you've been working on for 3 days. This is going to happen, so accept it, but segment it. The distractions you should avoid can be avoiding. Before every academic session I'm about to perform, I put my phone on silent, put it under my desk, check my emails for anything urgent, and then leave only one screen off. I turn off my other monitors, I put my phone away, and then stick to the study method that I know. But if your family calls you to a dinner or a boss sends you an urgent meeting, then go. Don't ruin everything just because you want to have your focus time. Stop hyper-optimizing, it's a waste of your time. But don't sacrifice your academic journey or random friends that might tell you, oh, can you hop on FIFA for a few hours? Can you come chill with me? Even if it's something stupid. Because unless you are blocking these things out, people will take over your priorities. Now, another question you might say is, Muhammad, what about music or leaving a video open? Now, there are 2 parts to it. Is one, it can help you focus if you need the temporary distraction to trick yourself to getting into a flow state. This is usually good while you're first starting out the discovery methods rather than just memorizing. For memorizing, you can get away with constant music or movies in the background, as well as mental effort being reduced quite a lot, but the time result trade-off is a lot worse. You can study 1 hour and only get 10 minutes worth of discovery work done. You'll also enjoy learning a lot more and stop relying on the external music or shows in the background to keep you motivated, and your mind will fully be focused on your work. So don't feel ashamed if you have to use it. If you feel like you can't focus without some sort of background noise, then by all means use it. But if you can tone it down, if you can focus without it, it'll be much better for you, because when you're in exams, you won't have music either. Finally, routine and diet. I think it's over and underrated. Of course, I'm not a medical professional, so talk to anyone who's a professional like a doctor or a pharmacist before you try anything. This is something very personal. Some people like me, like waking up super early, like 4 a.m. You can see last 6 months, I've averaged waking up at 3:15 a.m. and learning for anyone else has woken up due to the lack of distractions and the feeling that you are constantly ahead when compared to those around you. For others like my sister, she preferred studying the late afternoon. And there's nothing wrong with this either. It's simply whatever you prefer and whatever works with you. But don't be afraid to try both. I studied in the afternoon for most years of my life. However, I've switched to mornings last year and now I can never go back. As for diet, I prefer not to eat before studying, but again, this is personal to some people. I do use caffeine before some study sessions due to heightened energy and focus, and this can really help if it works for you, but it's important not to become over-reliant on these things. No matter what you prefer, keep it consistent. Once you find a routine, stick to it, having 1 to 5 days planned out for serious bouts of focus, and I promise you that you'll be able to outstudy 99% of the people that are studying 3-4 times as much as you. To close, well done, you finished a full guide. Someone with a very fried attention span, that's very impressive, well done. Keep at it, follow my Instagram if you want spoilers and advice, join the Discord for accountability groups, comment any feedback if this has worked for you, inshallah it has. Yep, that's it.